Okay.
Hello, welcome to the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast, episode 97, the football special. We've started off well, Scott. We're trying to do something different today. We've started off well by getting very excited because today we're going to be talking about England and also the Premier League itself and looking at our predictions for the rest of the season. So, I hope you're all doing well. Follow us on our social media platforms, Pod, All in Football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There's a 5-star review where you get your podcast from. And don't forget to like the video on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Scott, you are joining me today, as everyone's already heard. How are you?
I'm all right, yeah. Not too bad. Ticking along.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Barry, talking about England today.
Oh, no. Depressing. But we'll see. We might be joining you, fingers crossed, if we can beat Finland and potentially Poland in the playoff final. But we will see. And then I can do my own little Wales squad, even though it near enough picks itself. So, yeah.
How do you feel about it? Think you're getting through?
No, to be honest. I think Poland will beat us in the final. I think we'll probably beat Finland. I think the only thing that's swaying us is we're at home. But obviously it's without the Messiah, Gareth Bale. So yeah, it's life without him. Hopefully Brennan Johnson can do a magic and keep them all with a bullet header. But I'm not counting my chickens, but we'll see.
A few of your players look quite good. They're performing at the moment, so why not? I think you stand a chance, especially in the playoff format that you're in. So we're going to be having a conversation about our England squads initially, and we're going to be looking at our teams. So no FPL chat this week. So if you've tuned in for FPL chat, wait till next week, and we can talk about how much of a disaster the free hit was, and I'll do the manager of the week all at that point, and that's going to be a good fun debate. I'm already looking forward to that, Baz, after you throwing a grenade into the Fantasy Premier League Facebook group anyway. But we're not going to talk about that. So we're going to England, right? So we've just seen the England squad that's been picked. For the two friendlies, who I don't even remember who they're against. One's Brazil and the other one's
Belgium.
Belgium. There you go. I'm glad you know, Baz. And we've seen the squad that's been picked. So we're going to discuss initially our squads for who we think will go or should go to Euro 2024. So we're going to go through position by position. We'll race through goalkeepers to start with. So on the screen for podcast listeners, we've got all three of our squads that we've put together individually. We did them all by ourselves, and obviously there are a lot of similarities, but there are a few quite key differences. So goalkeepers, I picked Pickford, Johnston and Trafford. Baz picked Pickford, Johnston and Trafford. And Scott picked Pickford, Pope and Trafford. I don't really think these need much time spending on them, on the fact we know that Pickford's number one, and we've all put Trafford in because we probably think he's one of the future England goalkeepers. Second keeper, Johnston or Pope if he's fit, Scott. Anyone got anything specific they want to mention about goalkeepers? No Ramsdale. That's probably one of the bigger things there. What do you think, Baz?
No Ramsdale, and as I mentioned between us in our group chat, no Butland as well. Probably because he's playing in Scotland, and Gareth Southgate might think that it's an easier league. But he's obviously been really well at Rangers, so he deserved a mention.
Scott, anything to add before we move on to defenders?
No, I think it's probably our weakest position though.
Yeah, Pickford's got the XP. I know you're a Pickford fan, so
I don't think it's a weak position. I just think that compared to the quality we're about to speak about, I think if you had one position, I think even as debatable this or the centre back for me. But yeah, I think you want Pope for me as the last of the keepers. He's in if he gets a few games towards the end of the season. If he doesn't, no, I want 3 keepers that are playing. I think that's why we've all not included Ramsdale.
Yeah, exactly. Trafford's just been dropped at the weekend, hasn't he? So
yeah,
let's say that doesn't stick. So defenders. So we've all picked Kyle Walker for obvious reasons. We've all picked Trent Alexander-Arnold. I've just put him in the midfield position, whereas you guys have kind of put him in as more of a defensive position. We've all picked Trippier, interestingly enough. So we've all got 3 right backs in there. Maguire for me and Scott, but not for Baz. Baz, why not Harry? Had a fantastic season, I think, at United compared to the rest. So
I don't think he's good enough centre off for what obviously how many good centre offs are up and coming, and I think Dunk playing for England looks better than what Harry Maguire is. Last couple of games, yeah, he was getting slated and things like that. His probably head it was all over the place, and he obviously didn't perform very well against Scotland. So for me, I've picked Dunk because I think he's a better centre half than Maguire. I don't really rate Maguire that much, and I think Dunk's more better on the ball and obviously equally as good in the air. So for me, Dunk gets the nod instead of Maguire.
Yeah, and I said, Scott, the case for Harry starting for you, isn't he, as a centre half, or is he not?
I mean, yeah, he's starting for me. I think it's close, but I think Harry Maguire's always done very well for England. He's proved it at tournament level as well, which I think is really important. And he had some really good experience. And he's come back from injury, which is great for him because like you said, Alex, he's having a really good season. He's playing really, really well. And I think it's shown partnerships can make or break teams. I think he's shown down the years he's got a very good partnership with John Stones. So I would just trust them as my centre backs. But at the end of the day, if he gets a knock and Lewis Dunk plays, I'm not in a corner having a nervous breakdown. But that's why he gets the edge for me.
I think he's had a great season. I think he's looked better than he has done in the past 2 or 3 years for me. I think he's looked probably his best form he's had for a long time for us.
And when you talk about resilience and mental strength, that's what you need at big tournaments. And let's be honest, no England player over the last 2 years has had to go through and be as resilient as him.
Yeah,
really. And he's come out the other end and he's shone. He could have easily moved away from Manchester, gone to a lesser club, been out the spotlight a bit more, but he wanted to fight for his place there. And I've got a lot of time for that. And he won Player of the Month a few months ago as well. Amazing.
We've both picked Colwill, Scott, over Baz, who's put Gomez in, and I think we've all sort the same thing here. I assume that we've got a player who can play centre half and also left back, because left back seems to be a weaker spot for us in terms of injuries at the moment. I think we're probably all agreed here that Luke Shaw's our best left back, but it looks like he might not be fit. And it's potentially, I mean, he's 100% starts for me personally at left back if he's fit. I've put Chilwell in. I know you're not put Chilwell. I'm the only person who's put Chilwell in. You've got Trippier down as potentially a left back for you, Scott. He starts for you, doesn't he? In your perspective, Baz, is Trippier your starting left back, or what's your plan with this group?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's my starting left back. I think he gives you the free kick prowess as well. But obviously, when we'll touch upon the teams as well, I think we've probably got someone else who's decent at free kicks as well. So
yes, you've both gone for Gahey and Branthwaite as to make your squads. I've not. I've got Ben White in mine. Is White not in your squads? I'll come to you first, Scott. Is White not in your squad because you don't think he will be, or do you think you see him as just as a right back? Do you think he doesn't fit into the squad? We've got too many players in that position. So what's your take on that one? Because arguably, in my opinion, Ben White's in much better form, playing for a better team, and is a better player than Gahey and Branthwaite.
Ability-wise, he'd be in my squad. He'd be pushing for a start, but he's turning his back on England. And quite frankly, I kind of agree with what Redknapp said. I'm probably not as direct as what he said. Like, I think there's always time for people to come back into the fold. But for whatever reason, he's always had a weird relationship with England. And if you don't want to play, if you don't want to be part of the squad, and he's only going to be bothering turning up if he's guaranteed a start, if that is the truth, I think that's pathetic.
Yeah.
And I don't want him representing my country, to be honest with you. We're all footballers on here, we would do anything to play for our country. I'm just surprised by it. He's always been an interesting character. I remember the interview when he was like, I don't like football. I don't watch football. I do it because I'm good at it and I make a living playing it. So I always think that's quite a strange sort of mindset. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people don't enjoy the jobs, but it was still quite weird. Most footballers have a passion for it. They've grown up around it, etc. So for me, he's not in because of that. Ability wise, he has that flexibility to play a couple of positions for me as well. So that's why I've left him out solely on the fact that he feels like he's turning his back on England.
Same for you, Baz. Same reasons, or do you just think is it ability thing?
I agree. I think with Scott, it's ability-wise is good. Obviously, if you were playing centre half, it would kind of be similar to like a John Stones kind of player, bringing it out and playing a bit because he's obviously very capable on the ball. When he obviously announced he wasn't obviously going to play, I was frantically looking around to see if he could actually play for Wales. But unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, there's nothing against his ability. I think, as obviously Scott mentioned, if you're a footballer, your proudest moment would be probably representing either the Three Lions or, for me, a dragon on your shirt. So for me, he's not in for that reason.
Scott, you've gone for Gahey and Branthwaite both over Lewis Dunk as another option, whereas I've gone for Dunk over both of those guys. I think that's quite an interesting difference. I think if I had to choose between Gahey and Branthwaite, it'd be clearly Branthwaite this season. I've not been impressed by Gahey at all. I've not been impressed with him in an England shirt either, to be quite frank. He doesn't get in my squad. I think if White doesn't get in, I'd have Branthwaite instead. I think I've been quite impressed with him this year, and we're going to buy him for like 100 million in the summer. So, obviously, I don't think that's going to happen under the new ownership.
When Gareth Southgate's the manager as well.
When Southgate's the manager, yeah, we'll probably take him all on. But no Dunk. Is he on the edge for you? Is he a no? Is he what do you think, Scott?
I think if he didn't play so well. When was it? Just before Christmas, we played some friendlies. I can't remember, but he played really, really well, if I recall. So for me, that's why he's on the edge. I don't think he's had a particularly good season. I mean, Brighton have not had really an incredible season. If I didn't have so much experience in that defence already, you've got a lot of caps. It's in my starting five. There's a hell of a lot of caps in there. He would probably be in there, but like Branthwaite, he's had a cracking season. He's one of those players that he'll come. He might not get any minutes, but you've got to give him this kind of tournament experience because he's the future of England.
Yeah,
he's rapid and he's just built like an absolute bull. Gahey's there. I still like Gahey and he's quick as well. I do like that. Branthwaite for me would definitely be the one that would remain. Again. I would be quite sad if he, didn't make it actually, just because he's that future. But yeah, again, if Lewis Dunk came in for a Gahey, I'm not too bothered. But yeah, it was fairly close between those two.
Nice one. Shall we? I've also, I think the other thing that's different I will mention is my pick of Chilwell. I like Chilwell as probably our only fit when he is fit. Natural left back that we kind of have in our team. Left-footed, left-sided, left back without Shaw in. I think he offers us balance. I think he's really good going forward. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he's not had the greatest season in the world. I'll be one of the first to admit that. But I do think having a natural left back in the squad is important because I look at both of your teams and I just look at that position and I think that's really quite clearly a weakness there. I think Chilwell as a natural left back goes in. I mean, Colwell's done quite well this year, but I look at for example, yours, Baz there, and I think about the left back position in your defensive group, and I go, I don't know if Trips has got to play really well, and in that, and if hopefully he does. That's why I've gone for Chilwell anyway.
The reason why I didn't pick Joe is probably going to be injured by end of the season anyway. So.
And the thing is, mate, you're not wrong. Midfielders. Let's go on to the juicy stuff. Midfielders and strikers. Let's discuss them all together, shall we? Because I think the first thing first that we'll do with the striking side is that Kane and Watkins are in all of our teams. I think for relatively obvious reasons. I saw Paul Merson talk about we should take Tony over Watkins because of penalties. As one of the things, that's what he said.
He's not there, is he? If he's taking pens.
I know. He's talking about penalty shootouts, isn't he? And that's what he's decided he's going to talk about.
Oh, no. Every professional footballer should be able to take a penalty.
Well, look at Sterling in the FA Cup. But yeah, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? For this is the thing. But you should be able to take penalties. Everyone should. But Baz, you put Tony in and gone for one less midfielder. So, Ivan Toney, talk to me.
I think he's a totally different player to Watkins and Kane. He's a proper number 9. And if I know Gareth's not going to ever do this, but if they're struggling or anything like that, you could just put him up top and you could literally just pump the ball up to him, and probably he's going to win majority of the headers. And then you'll have all these flair players running off him, and it's just another different tactic to play, a plan B, shall we say. But Gareth's not going to be playing a plan B. He plays his normal, boring self. And you know my issues on Gareth, and I'm not going to touch upon it even more. So, yes, he's a fraud. But yeah, I just think he's just a different option and a different beast. And I think he'd become backfiring after obviously he is banned. So yeah, I think he deserves a call.
You see, the thing for me is that when I see him play now with like Visser, I feel like Visser is the more attacking, like more natural, like number 9. Do you know what I mean? Like when I watch them play, I don't know. I feel like he's just weird, Tony. Like, you know, he's out at 9. He can play it out at 9, can't he? I suppose, but yeah, I just feel like we've got too many midfield options to have 3 strikers, and that's how I feel about it in terms of midfield. So let's just run through the midfield with all the players that we've all got in, and then we can have a conversation about them. So obviously we've all got Rice, obviously we've all got Bellingham, obviously we've all got Palmer in the teams. That makes sense. Obviously I've got Trent in there. We've all gone for Maddison, and we've all gone for Gallagher. We've also all gone for Bowen, or obviously gone for Saka, and obviously gone for Foden. So there's 3 players in there that are probably not obvious nailed on the plane players. Like certain, like Gallagher, Maddison, and Bowen are 3 in there that are interesting. Scott, you're a Maddison fan.
Yeah, big Maddison fan.
Devil's advocate. I mean, I've also put him in the team here, so I think he should go. We've got enough options in the number 10 there, haven't we? He doesn't really fit into our system. I don't. Does he? Talk to me about why he should be in our team.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he's a class act. You know, depending on how the game's going, you can move the team around a bit. You know, Jude can play a bit deeper. You can have Maddison in that number 10 position. I think he's just one of those players that can just unlock defenses. Like he can come on, especially against a fatigued team, and just find balls. And he's done it. He's not just, you know, he's having a decent season this season. You know, not been amazing, he's been injured. But he's been pretty consistent for a few seasons now. And I think he's always performed well when he's played for England. Don't get me wrong, he's not starting for me. However, we might be having a different conversation in a couple of months' time if he hits his heights that he can hit, and you know, looking a bit ahead to when we have a talk about the team, one of the other players doesn't. And actually, I don't think Maddison's far off potentially starting. But I just think he's class. I think he can just come on and make a difference.
Are we looking at Gallagher in terms of we've got quite a lack of central midfield options, like to play like alongside Rice and this, that, and the other if needs be, and great legs, great season he's had. He's versatile box to box. You know,
he's really impressed me this season, Gallagher. Like when he was playing a couple of seasons ago, and I don't know if it's just because he's a good-looking lad, he's got the hair, and he's good on the ball, he's flamboyant. But this season, he's just been getting stuck in and just been like, you know, I have no idea who the club captain is at Chelsea, but I know he has the armband from time to time.
Reece James.
There we go. So he like 2 games out of the year, Reece James has it when he's fit. But yeah, seeing Conor Gallagher in that midfield, box to box, battling away, I think he's one of the reasons that Chelsea have, you know, won some games this season, to be honest with you. And he's really impressed me. Like, and I never saw him being this kind of player. Like when he was he at West Brom on loan? Was it a couple of seasons ago?
West Brom, Palace,
yeah. When he's been at those clubs, I saw him more of a James Maddison-esque player, a bit more flamboyant. But no, he's really impressed me. And I think he would come on and have that legs in the midfield for the last like 10, 15 minutes, maybe to see a game out.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I think I really rate him for that reason. We've all gone for Bowen. Now, one of the reasons I put Bowen in the team.
Sorry, about Maddison.
Okay,
When I've watched Tottenham play, he drops quite deep into the centre midfield position anyway, just to get on the ball. So I'll have no issues for England to play Maddison at centre mid because he can do that role just to get him on the ball. So that's another option for Maddison. I just wanted to touch upon that. Every time I've seen Spurs, he's dropping deep to get on the ball and make him tick. And I think that will obviously help when England are playing a team that are struggling to break down. Maddison will get on the ball and create something, and I think that will be key.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because Maddison, I feel like Maddison is one of those players that really shines in a team that almost isn't like as. I mean, maybe he's not had the opportunity to do this yet. He feels like he almost needs to be sort of the main man in that 10, the main man who's on the ball all the time, making things tick and moving around. And I don't know if we've got. Does that work in a team with Bellingham? Because Bellingham starts and Foden starts, and you just like, how do you? I feel it weird. If I put Maddison in a 10, Bellingham behind him with Rice, and then Foden on the left, and I'm like, is that too much? It just, I don't know. It's a weird. It's a great problem to have, though, right?
Yeah, it's a very good problem. I wish Wales had that. But England are going to have most of the ball anyway, aren't they? So if you've got them players that can unlock a defence, fantastic. I wouldn't be shying against it. That's why in my 11 you'll see I've only gone for one holder for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, also Gallagher had that little mean streak about him getting into tackles and things like that. I watched him when he were at Swansea, and he did that. He didn't obviously score a lot of goals, but he got 6 assists for us. So yeah, and he was quite feisty at Palace, but they let him go a bit forward. So yeah, so I just wanted to touch upon Gallagher and Maddison.
I just really like Gallagher. Again, he reminds me a bit of he's like Chelsea Scott McTominay. Do you know what I mean? Like that guy who can play these positions and gives you 110% every single game and can put the ball in the net and just bleeds your club. You know, plays for the badge no matter what the badge is. To be fair for Gallagher, so I'm a fan of that. I feel like if he plays, he gives a crap. Bowen slightly out of form, but having a great season still. Had a great season last season. Can play right wing out or through the middle, or up top. I think he's really diverse and works really well. I'm surprised we've all picked him because I thought someone might not go for him and go for one of the other flash ups. So I'm surprised we've all got him. Scott, Bowen for you. Pretty nailed in the squad. On the plane? Not on the plane? What more? I want to know from you more what you think Gareth will do with him, because he's in all our squads, but he's not. Is he there with Gareth?
I don't know how many squads he's been in recently. Gareth's one of those where if they're playing well and they're a decent player, he does kind of hit them anyway. Sort of if they've been in quite a few squads, that makes sense because they know the setup, etc., etc. So I wouldn't say he's nailed on. He's not Kane, Bellingham, etc. But I think he's fairly safe. I would say going on the plane. I love him for a long time. You know, closet West Ham fan over here. He's not in great form at the moment, but I don't think he's going to be one of those players that is going to be form dependent closer to the time. I think he's close to being one of them players, but I think he sort of makes it anyway. He can just imagine him coming on and just sort of having that bit of pace, having that bit of, and like you said, I think you mentioned that he works really, really hard. So if you've got someone like Saka maybe that might not be, might be getting tired towards the end of the game, not tracking back. If Bowen comes on, maybe on that right hand side, he's going to be, putting the graft in. So I think he's fairly safe.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got picked for the latest squad, didn't they? I think that's a big sign. Couple of players to touch on. So Baz and I both picked Gordon, who again is in the current squad, over Rashford, who you've picked, Scott. I can't lie, incredibly tight for me in terms of a call. I've put Gordon in because I think he's shown better form this season, and I really like him as a player, and I think I've got a bit of Man U bias against Rashford this year because I've watched him and he's kind of peed me off to watch with attitude, arms flailing around. I've just not really been pleased with him at all, to be honest. But I think that's one of the reasons I put him out. Baz, Anthony Gordon over Rashford?
I just think, like you touched upon, I think he's been all around a lot better. And as what Scott mentioned about Bowen, his work ethic is unbelievable. Rashford's throwing arms around, pointing fingers. Is he getting that from Bruno Fernandes, being the captain at Man U? Probably. Or is he getting it from some Irish lass in Ireland or something like that in the bar? I don't know. But yeah, for me, Gordon has had an unbelievable season, and I think Gareth needs to start looking at, instead of obviously having his age pros like Henderson, for example, in the team, he needs to start looking for the future, even though he's going to potentially, I don't know if his contract's ending or he's potentially leaving. But for me, he needs to start looking for future, hence why I've picked Gay and Branthwaite in defence. So for me, look, obviously give Gordon the experience to obviously go. And he had a really good under-21s as well, so why not promote him? He's had a phenomenal year.
Rashi, Scott? Talk to me.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, out of all three of us, I think I'm the one that was raving about Gordon ages and ages and ages ago. I've always been
that's why I was shocked
fan.
you didn't pick him, to be honest, because to be honest, I thought Gordon would be nailed. I thought Baz wouldn't pick him. I thought you would. That's why I was surprised.
It was close, and again, it might change. I've just seen tweets of Rashford turning this season around last few games.
Yeah,
he obviously scored the worldie against City. But again, it annoyed me. I follow him on Instagram, and he was just kind of like banging on, what a feeling, Scott. You lost the game. Don't be banging on about your goal. You lost the game. So that did annoy me a bit. So I get it, but I thought he played well against Liverpool, and I think he's showing signs of getting back there. And again, he's a player he's been there. He's suffered the heartache of losing in the final, and losing in big knockout games. So he's got that experience. So it is close. I love Anthony Gordon, and he was almost unplayable not on the 21. He was so good, and he took that form and that was the catalyst for Anthony Gordon, wasn't it? Because he joined in January, didn't he, Newcastle, sort of a January transfer window, and he wasn't great. And then he was brilliant in that, and then he just carried that on into the season, and he's been really, really good. But yeah, Rashford at the minute just makes it. But again, watch, if he doesn't sort of continue these signs of picking form back up, then I think he is droppable. I don't think he's sort of nailed on at all.
Final player to touch on before we talk about probably a few more players that have missed out, and then look at our starting 11s. Kobe Mainu in yours, Scott. He's not in any of our teams. Just got the call up for the main England squad as well. I banged on about him in pre-season. Gutted when he got injured. He's been brilliant since he's come in for us. He's in for you over. Well, it's one of the central midfield options, not over anyone else really. Over just maybe another attacking option.
I think he's just he's impressed me. I feel like he's kind of a generational player. Like, he's just walked into that Man United team, and he looks like he's been playing in that team for 5-6 seasons. Like, nothing affects him. I feel like you get that more with younger players now. I don't know if it's all the training they get, like on and off the pitch training, the mentality and stuff like that. Nothing seems to affect these younger players, and you see it. It's not just in football. I'll talk about all sports, and I'm going to talk about Luke Littler, the darts player, which I'm sure everyone's aware of. He's just walked into darts like he's been there for 20 years and nothing affects him. Yeah. And I see the same with Mainu. And I think they were saying he absolutely bossed that midfield on Sunday against Liverpool. But he's not just got a, that midfield where he's going to win ball back and like change over possessions. He's got baller play as well. Like some of the skill moves he does. So there's going to be at times where actually he's not afraid to get forward. And his mate next to him, which we all love, is Declan Rice. He's not afraid. And I look back to who we had in them positions a few years, like maybe last year, a Calvin Phillips, a Jordan Henderson, two players like not particularly bombing forward a lot, but you've got that option with Mainu, and I feel like he would just if he started on Saturday, I don't think it would phase him one little bit, and I reckon he'd put a right performance on it.
He's one of those where I would love to see it, and it's the last minute thing. The 4-3 against Wolves. Took it past two players and curled it in corner and won the game. He's so, as well as taking it in, yeah, great. I'm so glad he's got the call up. A couple of interesting things then before we move on to our 11s. So the England squad that's just been picked right now, he has picked Ramsdale over Trafford. He's gone Pickford, Johnston and Ramsdale. Then defensively, he's picked Branthwaite, Chilwell, Dunk, Gomez, Ezri Konsa, Maguire, Stones and Walker. I feel like Konsa is definitely on the fringe out of them lot. I think that's relatively comfortable. In terms of midfielders, got to touch on it, Scott, because I know you're quite relatively passionate, but quite passionate about it. Still picked Henderson.
Yes, it is bad. Like I have said down the years that Henderson should be in the squad, etc., etc., and I've always said that. I always back Southgate. I can't back him in this decision. It's a shocker. I can't think of any reason whatsoever why he's in the England squad. He's playing for a team now that have no Dutch players have been selected from Ajax. Yet we've still got an Ajax player in our squad. He's not performed when he's gone to Saudi Arabia. He's not particularly pulling up trees for Ajax. And Baz mentioned youth. We've got so many. We're so rich in our midfield. Doesn't matter if it's attacking midfield or defensive midfield. We're so rich. We're such a wasted position. Oh, he's coming for what he can do, in a changing room or whatever. Don't need it now. Don't need it. We've got so much experience. Even someone like a Foden, that guy has got more big game experience than probably anyone else in the squad. He's still young, but he's got experience. We don't need experience coming for experience sake. I think it's a shocking decision, and yeah, I think he's got to really consider it going into the Euros, because that will be a big noise going into a tournament if he picks Jordan Henderson, and it could overshadow the build up to that and disrupt that build up to that tournament. So I think he's got a big decision on his hands when he picks that squad going.
I mean, when you think about it, we've got 6 or 7 Champions League winners in the squad, maybe even a couple more. Just doing a quick count off the top of my head. We've got players that have played in Euros finals, World Cup quarterfinals, big games, penalty shootouts. Yeah, they've experienced that. We don't need the experienced head anymore who's not playing very well.
We've got players that can go into that. Stones can go into that position. I'd rather have John Stones playing in that position than Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, well, he basically won the City the treble last year as anchoring with Rodri. That whole tactical change is the reason why they got to where they were. So really, I think that was Pep's genius and Stones' great play. And he was man of the match in Champions League final, wasn't he? That is just unbelievable. And also, the other thing to note is Southgate picked 3 forwards, Kane, Watkins and Tony in this squad. So, let's look at our squads. Let's look at our 11, shall we? Let's get into debating that. So, let me share this screen now. I'll do that. Smooth as silk, lads. Smooth as silk. Right. This is my 11. Clicked on mine first. So I've gone for Pickford, Walker, Stones, Maguire and Chilwell, Trent and Rice, with Saka, Bellingham and Foden, Kane up top. More than happy with playing Jude alongside Rice, playing maybe Foden in the 10 and then going someone else on the left, whether it be Palmer or whatever. Happy with that. But I'm pretty convinced that back 5 is in back 4 and Pickford is the team that we should go with. Barry, your 11?
So I've picked obviously Pickford in goal, like I think Scott has as well. Obviously nailed on. Walker, right back. Stones, as he's cemented himself as the best centre back for England. I've gone for Dunk because obviously I ain't got Maguire and you have got Maguire. I just think Dunk, like I touched upon, is miles better player than Maguire. Trippier at left back, and I'm just gone Rice for holding because I just think that front five of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Bellingham and Saka and Foden and Kane is just absolute frightening. So yeah, but if, for example, Gareth wants to go a bit defensive, he could potentially put Trent alongside Rice and get Bellingham in number 10 role, similar to what Alex mentioned and Scott has as well. So yeah, for me, I just think that's the lineup that they should go for and go gun ho, because Rice is good enough to just hold that midfield. He's been doing it for Arsenal, so and they're at the top of the league, so why not?
Scott, then your team.
Yeah, so there's been some last minute edits to my team because I just like to cause chaos. So yeah, Picky, yeah, Walker, Stones, Maguire, Trippier. I think you've got that's just experience on a back five coming out your eyeballs there, isn't it? I agree with Baz. I think Declan Rice can do a job. These two players that I've got not shown on screen, but are not there just to sit on the CDM role, like I mentioned earlier. So I've took Palmer out for podcast for YouTube listeners. I took Palmer out and put Mainu in. So I've got Mainu next to Declan Rice. I think especially against like the worst teams, they can take it in turns, sort of supporting that attack as well. And they've both got legs, and I just think them two in the midfield would just boss it. I'm just a big Mainu fan. Saka and Foden and Kane, I think right now they're so nailed on, which is great. And then in the number 10, arguably the best player in the world at the minute, Jude Bellingham. I think if anyone's going to win as a World Cup, it'll be him. World Cup, Euros, anything.
Anything. I think that the squad that, and this is a debate that again we'll have now. I think the squad that I've picked, I think he will go for Trippier over Chilwell, is what Southgate will actually start with. That's what I think he'll do. Agree or disagree, Scott? I think he'll start with Trent and Rice.
I haven't been impressed with Trent in that midfield personally. I'd rather just have him on the bench as a backup right back, or maybe someone to come on if he wants to mix it up a bit going forward. I think Gareth likes to confuse the hell out of us. So just seeing I've got a weird feeling like someone like Conor Gallagher will start in the first game.
Yeah.
But then Foden on the bench, and then I don't know.
He'll probably start Henderson, mate.
What I will say is, we should be winning the Euros this one.
I think we 100% are one of the top two favourites. Yeah, I don't.
Us and France.
Us and France. I think there's no doubt about that. Let's talk about some of the players that have missed out then on our squads and might miss out anyway as well. Let's not worry too much about the defenders. Let's talk about the midfielders and attackers. Players like Calvin Phillips, Jack Grealish, these guys who were nailed on in the last squad. Baz, talk to me about a few of the players that aren't going to make the squad in your eyes that maybe should or shouldn't, or should be on or just are nowhere near it now.
See, if Phillips stayed at Man City, I think he's probably going to make the squad. But because he's gone to get minutes, and obviously what's happened to him has actually hindered his reputation. So for me, it's just unfortunate that he didn't hit the ground running at West Ham. So that's obviously unlucky for him. But obviously, there's plenty of options to go for. Grealish is obviously injured, so he can literally change the game as well. He's obviously been trusted last season with Pep. Obviously, Grealish was picked majority of the time by Pep, and he was one of the trusted players because he's built into the philosophy of how Pep wants to play. So Grealish is obviously very unlucky. He needs to obviously find some form, but obviously Doku is obviously in front of him at City, so he needs to get in front of there. And obviously, I will touch upon defence because I think Conser's really unlucky because he can play centre off and he can also play right back, and he's done a really good job for Villa. And obviously, Emery's done really well at Villa, getting him playing really well. So for me, I think Conser, if Gay is not going to be fit, I think he gets the nod for me. But obviously, I haven't picked Maguire, so obviously. So,
you've got Tamori as well, and players like you've got Mings as well, for example, if he comes back and he's fit, I suppose. Scott, anything more to touch on here before we move on to the Premier League?
Not really. I think Grealish is close, isn't he? He's injury prone. He's an injury prone player. He gets knocks and seems to have spells on the sideline. The last Euros, we're all saying Grealish starts. It is a long time, 4 years, isn't it? Calvin Phillips, we're all saying he's one of the best holding midfield players in the world. But he's got time to come again. Like he's not over the hill. I hope he does. I like him. I like him as a person. I like him as a player. But I think his decision to go to City is ultimately massively derailed his career for now. I was saying at the time, someone like a Newcastle would have been an ideal team for him to go to. And he could be sat on our teams now alongside Declan Rice. But like I say, we've got enough abundance. We've got Kobe Mainoo that's just strong through the season, so we don't need help.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you look at the team, for example, that lost the Euros last time in terms of the final, plays like Sancho and they've got time to, again, come again, like you say. He's looked in much better form since he's gone to Dortmund. You can imagine him at a different club away from Ten Hag, probably doing quite well somewhere else again. If he sorts his attitude out, that he could probably he could definitely do well in another place. And you look at the World Cup, Dele Alli and Jesse Lingard and all that. It's amazing how it changes. You forget how many changes sort of Gareth's made over a period of time. But yeah, and obviously no debate on Harry Kane and how exciting it is that players like Cole Palmer have really realised how good they are this season. You obviously had him in your starting 11 before you changed the midfield, Scott, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's been unbelievable again, and let's not forget the man won the treble last year. So,
and he's one of the few players that's left City, and it's been a good thing for him because not many players seem to leave City and the career progresses. So I'm absolutely delighted for him, and he's been one of the standouts, hasn't he, for Chelsea?
Yeah, it's the first time I think I've seen City really make a big mistake in selling somebody.
Feels that way.
I think it might be because he's a youth player, isn't he? So obviously financial fair play and all that. They sold him because it's obviously
you say that now, and they just spent the money on Doku. So I think they just decided they were going to have Doku over him, and I think it's just a big mistake. I know you said about the money. Financial fair play is a big thing, isn't it, at the moment, especially Forest now as well. I just feel like they just spent the money. I thought it's not to balance the books; they've spent it.
True.
I think it's just a mistake, personally, from them.
Also, you could mention, I don't know, obviously I'm going off topic because we were talking about, obviously, Palmer. But obviously, Dominic Solanke's played really well this season. But obviously, I think he just needs more consistency in his game to get the potential call up. So, yeah, I think
we've got so many. I think, and I'm not disrespecting, obviously, much smaller country, but if Dominic Solanke was Welsh, that's exciting, isn't it? It'd be like,
he'd probably be our leading goal scorer.
Yeah, he would.
He would. Yeah,
he'd start
top.
It's well, look at Scotland with Che Adams. It's just that's just the way it works out, really, isn't it? At this point, so, it's fun. It's just the way it works. Right. Let's have a quick chat about the Premier League. That went a lot longer than we thought, but that was a good chat and it was very topical at the time. So let's have a conversation about the Premier League. We've got a couple of small divisions within the Premier League. Let's talk about the title race to start with, shall we? Phenomenal game between Liverpool and City. Arsenal obviously in great form, top of the table. 28 games played for all three teams. 64, 64 and 63 points to Arsenal, Liverpool and City. Pick the bones out of this, Scott. Obviously, Arsenal have still got to play City. And I think, is that the next game? The next game? Yes, it is. Says it there, Alex. Says it there. Other than that, City have probably got a slightly favourable run in. What Where's the title going? Best title race we've had in a while.
Yeah, looking that way, isn't it? Three teams within a point with 10 games to go is, yeah, I can't remember last time we had 3 teams in the hunt. So yes, it's brilliant. As a neutral, look, I'm going to be boring. I'm going to say Man City are going to win the league because they've been there so many times over the last few years. They've been in this position. They've been, not with a couple of teams, but obviously Arsenal last season. Many times with Liverpool over the last few seasons. You had Man United knocking on the door a few seasons ago. Has to go a few back. But they just got that experience. You could say, the fairy tale Klopp at Liverpool. I can't see it.
We ended that on Sunday anyway, mate. We ended the fairy tale on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. No quadruple. I feel like I'd like to see Arsenal win, even though they are a bit moany, just to sort of have someone different win. And I will say they've been arguably the best team to watch this year of Arsenal. Up there with Luton. We've got one here, 70 goals scored. And I would love to know how many of them goals were in the last 10 games. Obviously, they've been free flowing, they've been fantastic. But I think City do it just do it just because of that experience. But I'm not as confident as I have been ever saying that Saturday going City would win. I think they've got, I would say, I've put 50% chance in a 3-horse race. So in years gone by, I'd probably say 75% at this point.
Well, their running's interesting. They've got Arsenal at home and then Villa at home. Then they've got Palace, Luton, Forest, Wolves at home, Fulham away, West Ham at home, and I think they've got a rescheduled game against Chelsea. I can't remember. Is it Chelsea?
Should have been this weekend. Yeah, I think you're right.
Is that what it was? I think because that'll then go into game week 37 because they're in the FA Cup semi-final. So and so are Chelsea, obviously. So they've definitely got the favourable run in after these next 2 games. I mean, if they beat Arsenal, I mean, I think the conversation's all been, hasn't it? Arsenal have to go to the Emirates and win. That's been the conversation that's been had on between Sky Sports pundits. Do they? Can they not just draw that game? Baz, what do you think?
That game.
So I actually think Liverpool's going to win the league. I just thought they looked miles better than what City did when they played each other. I know it was obviously a draw, but Man City was there for taking. They just sat back. They didn't play like how I expected them to play. And to be honest, I thought it was quite a drab match. I didn't think it was as good as the game. Was it Saturday night? And I think there was a game Sunday. I think it was it Newcastle and someone that looked a better game. It looked Newcastle Chelsea, I think it was, and I was more interested in that game than Liverpool. I thought it was one of them where Liverpool looked like they were winning it, and City just looked like they wanted to draw it. And now Liverpool's getting all their players back. I just think the momentum is going to be with them, and obviously the result at the weekend, knocking them out of the FA Cup, I think they're going to have the tails up and they're going to go for it. They're going to see blood and go, right, we're going to win this league now. Just for that reason, we can't win the quadruple, even though I don't think it was going to potentially be on the cards for them. But I think they're just going to win it, and I think it's a toss up between who's going to finish second, because Arsenal look formidable at the moment. They look really good at the back. Kivor's come in for Zinchenko, my man, and it doesn't look out of place. And going forward as well. And we're all saying they need a number 9, and they've scored all these goals, as Scott mentioned. And what number 9? You don't need a number 9 when you've got a false 9 of Havertz, for example. Who would have thought that with the form he's in? So for me, it's difficult. And at this moment in time, I've got City finishing 3rd and Liverpool 1st and Arsenal 2nd. That's obviously on the current form and how it stands at my eyes at the moment. But City's running is unbelievable. They'll steamroll that, and I think if Arsenal draw that game, I think they've got a good chance of finishing above Man City.
It's interesting to talk about Arsenal. Obviously, 70 goals scored, 24 conceded, to the best goals scored and the best goals conceded in the league. But they have lost 4 games, whereas Liverpool have only lost 2. City have lost 3. There's a few too many draws for Liverpool and City. Anything to add on this, Scott, before we move on from the title race? You think City, Baz thinks Liverpool?
What do you think, Alex?
I just feel sick about all of them, to be honest. Honestly,
come on, stop being on-fans. Stop being sick.
I feel a bit sad, really, because it's probably the best title race that we've had in years, and I just dislike all 3 teams. And it's not, and it's a shame, really, because I should want Arsenal to win, because City are going to go for 4 in a row, and we never did that. Liverpool are going to equal our titles 2020, so I should be supporting Arsenal in this, but I just feel a bit crap about supporting Arsenal. I don't like Arteta, but I've got to give him credit for what he's done. They are a bit moany. I don't really like the fans. No offense, Dave Byrne, but I just don't really like the fans. I just find the whole fan base a bit moany and a bit meh, and I can't. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of it, to be honest. But I think if I had to hope 1-1, it'd be Arsenal, and if I had to pick one that I think will win, it'll be City. So there you go. There's my rant about it.
But before I'll just come in now before Liverpool do win it. And Basket, I told you. I don't think it's. I think it's really close. Can I have that on the record? I don't think Man City are gonna like. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them won it.
No, exactly.
Really quickly, if this was last season, I would be like, no chance, Arsenal.
Yeah,
agreed. Not got the experience, but because they're in this position last year, I think they're going to learn a lot from that.
Yeah. Fully agreed. I mean, if Liverpool win, it's only the 3rd time we had this before on the pod, didn't we? On our trivia, it'll be only the 3rd time ever a team has won the Premier League when they've not finished in the top 3 the season before that. It's only the 3rd time. And can you remember the 2 teams?
Leicester.
Yeah. And
Chelsea.
Correct.
Mourinho came in
the season after that. Literally, it was back-to-back seasons. Other than that, I think a team has always finished in the top 3 before they've ended up winning. A team doesn't go at it for the first time. Obviously, Liverpool aren't at it for the first time, aren't we? The rest of Europe. So, quick fire on this one, because the European places are a bit whatever. So we'll get through this nice and quickly. Would Man United even be in the race for the top 4 if it wasn't Man United? And we know that they can go on a run, whereas Villa and Spurs are a bit odd teams, and Villa is still in Europe. Are Man United still in the race for top 4 here, or is it actually between Villa and Spurs? What do you think, Scott? Or Baz? We go Baz, because Scott's still trying to read the screen, I think, isn't he? So you go, Baz. You go there.
I think they finished where they are, to be honest. I can't see them catching up Tottenham or Villa, even if they go on a mad run. I just think Villa and Tottenham have been quite a consistent teams to watch. Yes, obviously Tottenham concede a lot, but they got a lot going forward, and I'm surprised they've only scored 59, to be honest, because they played that aggressive football. I thought they would have scored a lot more than that. So for me, I think they'll finish where they are now, 6.
Andrew's as rattled as Klopp. Anyway, now to his response to that interview with the Fulham, rattled. I think.
Yeah.
I can't lie. Everyone tries to make out that he's being all casual and this, that, and the other, but he's like, Klopp was that journalist that calling him a stupid idiot question. I was like, come on, Ange. You're normally quite relaxed, but he was just done with it, wasn't he? Felt a bit like, it was over, isn't it? Scott, your thoughts, and also who's coming forth?
Who's coming forth? Spurs are coming forth. Again, it's close, and Villa have been fantastic this season. Really, really impressed. Unai Emery has been since he's come in. Taking them to Europe, still in Europe. Decent chance of getting a title there. I think Man United, and you can't rule them out. Going back to the original question, if they win the game in hand, they're only 6 points behind Villa, but they're out of Europe, whereas Villa are in Europe, and they've got nothing else to really work towards. And at this moment in time, they've got some good momentum. Not Liverpool, obviously, yes, but I think Spurs get that 4th spot.
Baz, 4th place will be
Spurs.
I probably agree. I'm telling you right now, Man, you come 5th, and we get in the Champions League. on the fact that it's the first time fifth in the new format. I've said it since I said it start of the season, then I become fifth as soon as we started being rubbish. Obviously, I called us like third at the start because I got really excited about the fact that we did all well the season before. But as soon as we started being rubbish, I'm guaranteed we come fifth, and we're that scumbag team that make the Champions League for the first time by coming fifth in this new format, and everyone thinks we're horrendous. So whatever happens, we'll be fifth. Put your money on it.
What happens if West Ham win Europa League? They'll be then in the Champions League. Does that then lose as a league spot?
Do you know what? I think it does, doesn't it? Because you can have a max of 5 teams in the Champions League.
Yeah, so we'd lose on.
Yeah, so that's what happened. We'll come fifth. West Ham will lose in the final. And honestly, I tell you now, we're that club.
So Liverpool will beat him in the final.
Yeah, Liverpool beat him in the final. We're that club that everyone hates so much that we'll just end up coming fifth and scumbag our way in the Champions League. Everyone will get kick off about it. Speaking of seventh, really quick fire. One team. That's all I want from you. Who is going to claim that Conference League spot between West Ham, Brighton, Wolves, Newcastle, Chelsea, and throw Fulham in there as well?
I think Chelsea will get it.
That's annoying.
Yeah, I don't want them to get it.
Neither do I.
Newcastle.
Come on, Moisey. West Ham. Right, brilliant. Let's do relegation. Forest, 4-point deduction, which 4 points?
Yeah.
4
points. Which apparently they're annoyed about.
Get Clattenburg on it.
Can I just say about the PFS stuff, by the way, and the financial fair play stuff? I understand the rules are nonsense, right? It doesn't make sense. It isn't fair. It isn't a fair playing field. They should all have the opportunity to spend more money to compete with top teams, and it separates them off. And all of that conversation, I completely agree with every single bit of it. But I have zero sympathy with any team that gets a points deduction because they've broken the rules. You broke the rules. You know what the rules were? You're an idiot. You spent so much money on players. You bought 44 players for over 100 and something million quid. You threw the kitchen sink at gambling that you were going to do better than what you did, and you failed. Half your players won't even play. You're just a piss poor Chelsea, to be honest. So you deserve every single bit you've got, Forest. Tough.
They would have been okay if they sold Brennan Johnson to Brentford for 30-odd million. They would have been all right, but then they hold it out an extra month or so to sell them to Tottenham for like 50 million. So yeah, there is that. They'd have been okay, but they said, "Oh well, we hold out for an extra 20 million." Well, that's what's cost you 4 points and potentially a place in the Premier League next season.
Relegation battle: Palace, Brentford, Everton, Luton, Forest. Obviously, Burnley and Sheffield United are going down because they're both rubbish teams, unfortunately.
I don't know. Burnley half a chance, not half. Like, they're not dead now. I think if we did this last week, we'd be saying they're dead. But I think the result of the weekend and this 4-point deduction, it's given them a glimmer, hasn't it?
Okay, a glimmer. I think they're dead because I think they're just a bad team. Do you know what though, Scott? Do you know what, Scott? Though I'll give you that they've got a glimmer because they've got Fofana, who seems they can put the ball in the net. So just on thinking about that and the coverage we've had.
If they win a game, I agree with Fofana. He seems like score a goal, which is impressive. Look, they're 2 points off relegation if results go the way in the game week, which if they win the game, the likelihood is the teams around them, they're also crap. They're probably going to lose. So actually, we could be looking at this in a couple of weeks' time and they're 2 points off getting out. So there's a glimmer. I still think they'll go down.
Yeah, but and they can. It seems like they can finally score a goal. That's what I was getting at with Fofana, because I think obviously they've been pretty piss poor in front of goal this season.
They're not scoring at the weekend because Fofana's obviously loan eligible to play.
Yeah, and they're getting beat by Chelsea. So who do we think is going to go down? Do we think Palace will be fine now they've got the new manager? Or Brentford are in the relegation battle. What's your vibe on all of this, Barry?
So Palace are safe in my eyes. Obviously, the new manager's got them in a formation that actually suits Palace. With the players they've got, obviously it's a shame that obviously Elise is injured, but they've got Eze back. So yeah, and Mateta's actually finding a bit of form of scoring goals. So for me, they're safe. Brentford will probably be safe as well, and Brumo's back as well. And it looks really good, as Scott mentioned. I didn't see the Brentford game, but apparently he came on and did really well. So for me, they've got enough to stay up, especially with Wisa and Tony and the new lease of life of Mope. So I think going forward they're fine. Defensively, probably could be issues there. But I think this should still be fine because obviously the other teams around them would potentially struggle. I think Everton potentially could get drawn in, especially if they get another 4-point deduction, like what obviously Forest did. And obviously then they'd be back on the 10 that they had in the first place. Luton, I really want them to stay up, but I don't think they will. I think the problem they've got is they only spent like, what was it, £5 million or something like that compared to everyone else. That's ridiculous to say how well they're doing as well. That is credit to Rob Edwards and what he's done at Luton and getting the right players in. That obviously eats into the philosophy of how he wants them to play. And I think Forest have just got enough quality to stay up. They've got obviously experience in there with Origi. Obviously Wood, who's been around a bit as well, and 1 year's in and out of the team due to injury, but obviously he looks like he can obviously score goals as he has done previous season and this season. So for me, I'm afraid to say I think the Luton will be getting relegated for me. But like I say, it all depends on how much points they've thrown against Everton and how they can bounce back. But they had that 10 and they bounced back really well. So I think, unfortunately for me, Luton's going down.
I think now Chris Wood's fit with Awanihi if he's back as well. I think again Forest have just got players that can put the ball in the net. And Chris Wood scored 9 goals in 11 starts this year. He always gets 10 goals a season. He's like it's just crazy. Like if you look at his numbers, he gets 10 goals, gets double figures basically.
Perfect draft player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's cracking to have in that squad. That's why the only real reason why I think if Everton do get another -4 in particular, they're going to be drawn into it is because they just seem to lack goal scoring opportunity. The goal scorers, I mean, they've scored the same amount as Burnley, but now obviously Burnley have got Fofana who's put the ball in the net. But the only team that are worse than them in front of goal is Sheffield United. Do you fear for Everton as well, Scott? How do you read it going?
Yeah, I don't feel fair now. I think Sean Dyche will keep him up. Sean Dyche, and he'll keep him up. There'd have been 35 points, wouldn't even been brought into the conversation. I think she started at Crystal Palace, didn't you? If they didn't get the
they got 6. There'd be 14. They got 6 points.
Yeah.
So they'd be on 31 points. So there'd be 10 points clear of relegation.
I think I agree with what you're saying about Forest. I think they've probably got enough quality, but I'm going to go with my heart. And I don't like Forest anymore. And I really like Luton. So I'm going to say the bottom 3 is going to be Forest, Burnley, and Sheffield United. Luton are going to stay up just, and then they're going to go down next season like 14 points. They're going to do what Huddersfield did, but who cares? Because, like you said, they're not spending a lot of money. And if they can keep in that conversation about coming back up, that's amazing. One thing I will say, they need to have a look at this point deduction things. They really need to have a long look at that because you can't keep having seasons where clubs are getting points deducted and they're not. It is not fair on any of the clubs. You don't know how to approach a game, or if you're thinking, we could do just getting a point here, you're going to set your team up differently. But actually, if you think we need to win this game, you're going to set up more aggressively. So they need to really have a long look at this because it really is a joke, these deductions this season.
Oh, they're awful. I hate this asterisks next to things and this, that, and the other. It's awful. It sucks. But again, it's just, But Everton, of course, they do have the best defence in the bottom half. I'm just going to scroll up here because I don't know. The only teams that have got better defensive records this season than Everton are the top 3, and then they're level with Man United.
Right.
And so they've got
it's not crazy. It's John Dyche, isn't it?
They've got the equal 4th best defence. Yeah. So when you look at it, you think, well, they're struggling to put the ball in the net, but they are keeping out. Unfortunately, I think the 3 promoted teams will go down in the end. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? But I do hope Luton stay up, and I agree with you, Scott. I hope Forest go down. I still hope Brighton go down. Shouldn't have sacked Chris Hughton. But there you go. I'm not over it yet, and I don't think I'll get over it.
The butterfly. I'll tell you now, the butterfly effect. Right decision. They'll just play in Europe. That wouldn't have happened potentially if Hughton didn't get sacked.
Well, I'll tell you right now. It's a joke. I just think it's me.
You could argue like Russia going to war with Ukraine affected Brighton getting to Europe.
Potentially it did. But the thing is, for me, the thing that annoys me about the Houghton thing, I won't go into it, but it's just, I think sometimes managers get sacked too prematurely. Look what happened at Palace with Vieira. It was the most obvious thing in the world when they didn't replace Hodgson in the summer.
You're saying it's a racist thing, essentially. Not to get too deep into it. But you named 2 Black Panther managers, and there was the whole thing about Hewett, wasn't it, when he got sacked?
I can't lie. Yeah. I don't want the podcast ever turn political, but I think there's a couple of pretty racist decisions there for me a little bit. Anyway, not going to call the clubs racist. The people talking about them and anything else. There's not going to get into that. But it doesn't feel.
I think you are.
It doesn't feel right. It never. Well, I remember when we were in Ibiza and Houghton got sacked, and I was like, Brighton are a bunch of racists.
You were going in on them and the fans, all the fans as well.
And Lewis Dunk. Particularly.
Maybe that's why he's not in your England.
No, he made it. He apologised. Adam Webster did.
Oh, did he?
Is he Irish? Anyway, we're on it. So let's wrap up there, lads, shall we? I don't think we had anything else. Baz, keep on the straight and narrow. Anything else to talk about?
I think that's it. We were going to touch upon our predictions and potentially change them and who's going to win, like the leagues and FA Cup and Champions League and that. But we've gone on for quite a while, so yeah.
We have. You've got an appointment that you need to get to. So there you go. Nice to go and have your tea. So, lads, thank you ever so much for joining me this week. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, Pod, P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review where you get podcasts from. And also subscribe to wherever we get posts from, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it may be. And don't forget to like our video on YouTube. And subscribe to the channel. Click the bell.
Yeah.
Sponsor us. Get a little one of them things. Sponsor us as well. If you want us to keep going,
Well, that window is now open. We're opening the sponsorship window for 2 weeks now, while it's international break. So get your sponsorship deals in.
Yeah. allinthefootballpod@gmail.com. Send it over. And I'm probably going to get a load of Brighton hate mail to that email address.
And Forest and Arsenal, because you were slacking off everyone, I think.
Oh, no, Palace was the other racist club I said back.
Yeah. Well.
That was it. But right, we'll call it there. Thanks ever so much for everyone for joining us this week. And we'll see you next week for the next instalment of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show. Thanks a lot and bye for now.